Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's bitter. You can think about it as pluses or minuses in a bank account. But they don't cancel each other out. They exist. All your pluses, all your minuses, all your sweet fruit, all your bitter fruit. And we have to keep coming back lifetime after lifetime to work our way through that bank account. With the soul, as it travels from body to body, from life to life, also travels that which we call the sukshma sharir, or the subtle body. The components of that are what we call man, buddhi, and ahankar, meaning my mind, but not my brain itself. It's not what I know. It's the impressions upon my mind. It changes your mind. It changes your physical brain also. But it also actually changes your mind. How you move through the world changes. We've got all the science now to show it, that meditation actually changes the physical brain, the mind. So the mind, when we say man, we don't mean the facts, the figures, the skills, the abilities, the experiences, not my actual learnings, memories, but the energetic aspect upon which patterns have come. In Hindi, we speak about them as sanskaras, impressions. They're the energetic equivalent of a neural network or a neuronal pattern. Neurons exist only in the brain, but the energetic counterpart to that is sanskaras on the actual energetic mind. So that travels. It's the sadhana you do, the meditation you do, the prayers you do, the seva you do, the growth of the mind that you do, it stays with you, lifetime to lifetime. Just again, it's not what I know or who I know. It's the energetic way. That's what's traveling. If you've studied these, but the manomaya, okay, now that was all the tricky. The part of me that knows you is my brain. It's an interesting philosophical question. Where does knowing someone exist? When you know someone and you love them, it feels like you know them in the aspects of your body, in your being, in your soul, in your intuitive heart, much more than just your brain. And yet, when we develop diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, get brain damage, people forget. After her stroke, my mom knows basically no one. And it's very interesting because we would love to believe that knowing is there. And on some level, some aspects of it are. But I would be lying to you as both a scientist and a spiritual person if I said, oh yeah, all her knowing is there, she just can't access it. Most of it's no longer there. And all that happened is she got a severe cerebral hemorrhage. Now, this is why this is important. Because if we're talking about knowing someone from a past life and meeting them, the question is, which part of you was with them in a past life that's here now? The man, buddhi, and ahankar, your subtle body, was there, but that's not the place where these sorts of memories are stored. What you learned from them is still with you. The lessons, the experiences, the depth that you went through, the experience of having loved in the way that loving changes you, the pain or joy, through betrayal or loyalty, those lessons as impressions stay with you. But the story and the narrative and all of the characters and the plots are gone. They are a product of the brain. They're gone when we have brain damage, they're gone in Alzheimer's, they're gone in dementia, and they are most certainly gone when our brain has been cremated and is over. So, can you meet someone from a past life? Absolutely. Will you remember them? Probably not. Now, will there be an aspect in you, a place in which the Jivatma, the soul, meets the energetic mind, meets the current physical brain? Is there a place in there in which something will happen of a vague recognition? Sure. I see no reason to think it can't. I couldn't tell you exactly scientifically where it happens. Energetic, cellular level, not the cells of this body or that body, but a level in which you know something that is beyond the cells. I think we have that. But I think it's also important to recognize that the overwhelming vast majority of the narratives and the stories and the roles and the relationships of past births, they finish. You may carry some karma left over from a past birth into this one that connects to a particular other jivatma. That jivatma is in a new body, you're in a new body, but the jivatmas have some karmic work that still needs to get done. Absolutely. So if that ever happens to you, just acknowledge it, bow to it. See what the lesson may be in it. If this was a person from a past life, why have they come into this birth? It means there's still something to be worked out, something to be learned. Ask yourself, what is it? just a beautiful opportunity to get closer to our true self. And so if you're having an experience of being with someone you know but you don't know, rather than having your brain drive itself crazy over it, just say to yourself, okay, wonderful. So there's probably a lesson here. There's probably some karmic work to be done. Let's do it. Other questions? Yes.
Sadhviji, thank you so much for everything that you do all day, every day, to change so many lives, particularly young women and girls. Thank you so much. My question's about service, and as we put so much time into our spiritual health, and we spend so much time in meditation practice and yoga practice, I'm not hearing much about Seva, and maybe that's just a Western perspective, and of course it benefits humanity, but I would love your perspective on the deeper meaning and significance of Seva.
Great.
And if I may,
sure.
Just some practical suggestions for how we can serve, particularly if we don't have available to us a volunteer program. And of course we're going to care for our family and friends and neighbours, but what are some other practical ways that we can serve and then integrate that into our lives?
Great. The deeper meaning of Seva. And how do we integrate that in our lives? So first of all, Seva is critical. It's a critical component of a spiritual path. And if you're here, by here I mean literally at Parmarth Niketan, you're going to hear a lot about Seva. It's critical for many reasons. I'll give you a few different ways in. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna speaks about 3 plus 1s, we'll hold for it, paths to the divine. 3 he emphasizes a lot. The 4th there's so many other teachings on. He emphasizes on Yoga, path of devotion, Jnana Yoga, path of wisdom, and Karma Yoga, path of action. The 4th is Raja Yoga, which is your seated practice of your, what we would call your meditation, your yoga, meaning with the body. All of that most of us think of as our sadhana falls under the Raja Yoga umbrella. And he speaks passionately about Bhakti Yoga, connecting to the divine through love and devotion. Jnana Yoga, connecting to the divine through wisdom. Who am I? Understanding the truth of who we are. And Karma Yoga, the yoga of action, in which every single thing we do is a path to the divine. The very act of action is a path to the divine. But what's the deeper meaning of these 3 paths as you get deeper into the Gita and deeper into other commentaries on it, teachings on it, is they're not actually 3 separate paths. Think about it in your life. Let's say you love someone. You fall in love with someone. So you begin with bhakti, with love. It's the across the crowded room right? The love at first sight, you saw each other, your eyes locked across the crowded room, and you fell in love. Okay. So you begin with bhakti. Then what do? You start to talk. And you find yourself staying awake all night long talking. Oh, and what was your childhood like? And what's your favorite color? What do you think about this or that? That's what we call Jnana Yoga. And it comes as the most natural byproduct. You fall in love. What do you want? You want to know all about the being you love. It's why when we fall in love, you sit across a table, you sit across a park bench, you sit together, you're in bed, you're talking. You want to just know more and more. Tell me about this. So bhakti leads to jnana. And if you don't have any interest in knowing anything about the person you love, that is what we call lust. That is not love. From love also spurs action. Spontaneously you find yourself cooking breakfast in bed for the loved one. You find yourself stopping on the way home to buy flowers or pick flowers. Just spontaneously, you're doing things for the one you love. It's the most natural outcome. They go together. And I'm not going to take up all of our time doing this, but you could get the same way by starting with karma or by starting with jnana. Wherever you start, you get to the other ones. So Seva is a practice of karma yoga. Seva is not just volunteer work. I'm all in favor of volunteer work. It's wonderful. It helps our planet. It's a beautiful way to work with depression and sadness, get out of yourself. I mean, it's wonderful. But Seva is actually much, much deeper. And it's different. Seva is a spiritual practice. Volunteer work is based on what does that person need? And it's just that. I'm the giver, they are the receiver. I am ladling soup into a bowl, you are a homeless person I'm feeding. I am the feeder, you are the eater. I am the giver, you are the receiver. I am the one who has, you are the one who has not. In Seva, it is a spiritual practice that purifies our buddhi, our intellect, and our mind. Remember, these are the things that go with the soul, so you're stuck with them life after life after life. Seva is a practice that purifies it. Seva is that which enables us to see the self in others. There is no giver, there is no receiver. There are no haves or have-nots. I may still be ladling soup into a bowl. That may be my seva. But if I'm doing it as a volunteer, it's, yeah, this is how I spend my Saturday mornings because, you know, we've been so privileged and I want to give something back. That's great. It's noble. It's wonderful. And it's still on a kind of a superficial level of my story in this body. Again, nothing wrong with it. It's wonderful. And yet, you can go deeper. Seva is, thank you for playing the role of the hungry guy so that I can have the opportunity of serving. So that as you appear to me holding a bowl, I can have the opportunity of doing the work to see myself in you. You see the difference? Seva is all about the purification of my mind, my vision, myself. It is why so many of the ashrams, monasteries give seva that is quite literally, objectively beneath every single person who comes. What is the seva they get given? Cleaning toilets, sweeping the floor, washing dishes. Not your own dishes, other people's dishes. Cleaning other people's poopy toilets. Not your own. Why? Not because they don't have the money to hire cleaners, but because there's nothing quite so powerful at removing that ahankar, that ego, which remember is part of the package that travels with the soul, than being someone with an MD or a PhD or $1 million on your hands and knees cleaning someone else's poop. Now, here at Parmarth Niketan, we have a bit of a different philosophy, which is actually we would rather hire people who need the money, who don't have other skills, and who otherwise would be impoverished, homeless, without access to anything. Give them that work, and give tasks in seva that are actually more in alignment with skills and abilities that people have. It's a different philosophy. But the end goal and result is the same. So seva is critical because it enables me to learn how to use every minute. You know, sometimes people will say, well, what's the bare minimum seva I need to do, like to get my room and board? And the dilemma with questions like that is that ultimately our goal is that your life should become seva. Your life should be seva. You know, sometimes people say to me, so what's exactly your role? Like, exactly what do you do here? And on an objective level, if you looked at how the hours of my day were spent, you could say, well, in general, what I do is a lot of spiritual teaching and guiding, and whether it's in speaking to groups, speaking to individuals, whether it's online, whether it's by writing something, and working for a variety of different humanitarian projects and programs, whether here on the ground, whether with international organizations. And yet, that is the most superficial, shallow level of looking at actually what I do. And if I get stuck in thinking that that's what I do, then I better start cleaning somebody's poop. Because that is not in alignment with ultimately, on the highest, deepest purpose, the reason I'm here. Which is for that purification. So the honest, deep answer of what do you do is that which needs to be done in that moment. What does the moment require of me? And sometimes what the moment requires is a teaching. Sometimes what the moment requires is a hug. Sometimes what the moment requires is a room. You know, my favorite way of thinking about this is they've changed now in the most recent construction situation. They've changed where the door to my office is, but the door to my office used to be right at the very entrance to the reception. And if I forgot to lock it, people would wander in every once in a while. And I think about, you know, the case of a guy, an old man, a very poor man who's traveled for God knows how many days sitting on the back of bullock carts, sharing the cart with sugarcane, or traveling on foot, or traveling in, a crowded rickshaw. Because we are running a free medical camp, and his daughter, or his wife, or his sister, or his mother, or his son, or whoever it is, needs a free cataract operation, and they don't have the money to get it done, or at least not done well. And we've got a free medical camp happening, and we've got doctors from all over the world doing free cataract operations. And he sees the advertisement in his local newspaper, and so he comes. And he wanders in accidentally to my office because there's nobody in the reception at that moment. Now, when he walks in, if I'm stuck in my role as a volunteer, and my volunteer job is I teach, well, then I'm going to say to this guy, sit down, let me give you a teaching. I will teach you something spiritually. I will teach you how to meditate. I will tell you about the truth of who you are. That is ridiculous and inappropriate, bordering on criminal. The guy needs a shower. He needs a hot meal. He needs a room. And he needs to be assured that his family member who he has brought for the free cataract operation will get one. And only after all of that is done does it even begin to make sense to say, hey, by the way, we also have satsang. We also have yoga and meditation. You should come. And so if I'm really in Seva, I will recognize that. And when this man walks into my office, what I will say to him, even though my job is not to work in the reception office and give out rooms, I will say to this guy, come, let me help you get a room. Even though my role is not the one of registering people for the camp, I will say to him, come, let's get you registered for the camp. I'll call whoever does it. I'll take him over to the hospital, or I'll send someone. But I will be able to show up in that moment because my intention is karma yoga. Every action, every minute, whatever the moment requires of me. And that's actually the goal of Seva. It's not about simply punching a time clock but not getting paid. It's about a way of transforming ourselves through action. We transform through bhakti, we transform through wisdom, we transform through meditation and yoga and japa and prayer, and we transform through action. So in terms of the best techniques and tools, don't worry if there's not a big volunteer organization. Allow your intention to be whatever the moment needs of me. And what you will start to notice is everywhere you go, things are needed. Things that are not necessarily your job, but things are needed. We have people who come here in Seva for a variety of different things and end up feeding the dogs on the street, end up watering all of the sick plants. That's not what they were delegated to do. But it's what's in front of me. As you move through your life, you will see ways to use your action as your spiritual practice. And there are battered women's shelters everywhere. There are soup kitchens everywhere. There are state-run hospitals for poor people everywhere. There are old age homes everywhere. There are orphanages everywhere. Find one. Give some time. But not because you are the one who has and they are the one who don't. But because engaged in that very specific seva, you recharge your remembrance of what it is like to serve so that you can go back out and serve the rest of the time as well. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Great question. Other questions? Yes. We'll take this as the last question this evening.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Could you please explain chapter 2, verse 47 of the Bhagavad Gita? Would you like me to read it?
Sure, read it for everybody, and then be very specific about what your question is. And the reason I'm going to give you this in advance, the difference between satsang and a philosophy lecture is the goal here is how do we get closer to the divine. Now, every chapter in the Bhagavad Gita helps us get closer to the divine. However, I want you to stay as the asker of the question. I want you to stay in what about this verse is keeping you from accessing your highest truth. And what awareness, knowledge, truth will make it easier for you to access your truth. Yes, okay.
So, I don't know if I'll read it very well.
Well, that's okay. If there's an English translation, you can also just give the English translation.
So it's karmanye vadhikaraste ma phalesu kadachana ma karma phalahetur bhur
Yes.
mate sango sta karmani.
Beautiful. You did that great. Yes.
And the
Is there English or should we give it?
Your right is to work only and never to the fruit thereof. Do not be the cause of the fruit of action. And
Do not be attached.
do not, yeah.
It must have that word in there.
And after that it has
Okay.
that. Nor let your attachment be to inaction.
Yeah. Okay.
That section. Nor let your attachment.
Okay. So is there a specific question you have about that you're struggling with?
Nor let your attachment be to inaction. That
Okay.
bit.
Which translation is that?
This is Gita Press, Gorakhpur.
So I believe that there's a word missing in the first part. Attachment should be there in the first part as well, where it speaks about the fruit of your labor. Here's the core teaching there, and here's why it's important for all of us. When most of us act, whatever we do, we expect there to be some result, and we have an attachment to that result. It could be something very material. I went to work, I punched my time clock, I should get my salary. I got my salary, I now have money, I should be able to use that and buy something. That is the fruit of my action. My action was the work. The fruit of the action is the money and that which the money is going to buy me. And if I go deeper, the happiness that I think I'm going to get from that thing that the money is going to buy me. That is the fruits of your labor. But it gets more subtle in our relationships. We're kind to people, we're nice to people, we're honest with people, we're helpful with people, we're compassionate. And we have an attachment to the fruits of that, which we believe are that people should be nice and compassionate and kind and honest and loyal to us in exchange. or at least that they should be appreciative of how we are to them. That there should be some fruit that comes from that. And on a spiritual level, I sit to meditate every day. Damn well better get enlightened. Right? Attached. I'm doing the work. Better get the fruits. Right? We weigh like this course, that course, this, that, like which is gonna give me enlightenment faster? I can't tell you the number of satsangs, question-answer sessions I've been in all over the world in which someone will raise their hand and ask some variation of a question that goes, what's the bare minimum I need to do every day to get enlightened? We want the fast track, right? I'll do what you say, but I better get that enlightenment. Fruits of my labor. So what this teaching is, and it's a core teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, it's one of the very pillars of the Gita, is do your work with no attachment to the fruits. The fruits are not in your hands. You plant the seeds. What grows, what doesn't grow, out of your hands. Therefore, you should never be emotionally hooked into those fruits. Because when we're attached to something, and this is where we come to the, what does this mean for me and how does it impact me on my life, other than philosophy? We lose ourselves. We become miserable. We're frustrated. We're depressed. I've done this. I should get this in return. He says, no. You are not entitled to the fruits of your action, and you are not in control of the fruits of your action. Your job is just to do the action. Do it well. Do it sincerely. Fulfill your dharma. Leave the rest to me. And do not be attached to inaction. Because remember that Arjuna, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, when he gets scared that he's going to accrue all of this negative karma from engaging in this battle, he basically says to Bhagavan Krishna, forget it, I'm not going to act. And Bhagavan Krishna says, no such luck. You can't not act. Acts of omission are actions just as much as acts of commission. That which I do is just as much an action as that which I fail to do or neglect to do. So do not get attached to inaction. Neither the fruits of the action nor your dharma. Be an instrument in the hands of the divine. Nimitta. Be that nimitta, that instrument. Let your life be an instrument in God's hands. Let go. You just do your duty. Let the rest take care of it. It's out of your hands. It's not your problem. Some will give you juicy fruit. Some will give you no fruit. It's not up to you. So that's the teaching. Okay? And it's a very powerful and very beautiful sutra for life, mantra for life. Do your duty. If you get attached to the outcomes, if not today, tomorrow you're going to be miserable. So let it go. It's not that you don't care. It's that you leave it in God's hands. We eat the food, we recognize God's going to do the digestion. We go to sleep, we recognize God's going to wake us up. Right? I mean, there's so much anyway, as it is, that we have no control over. Plant the seeds. God takes care of the rest. Beautiful. So before we end satsang tonight, we have a very beautiful birthday to celebrate. And we have a very special satsang birthday tradition. And so we'll have a quick birthday celebration here, and then we will distribute some sweet, yummy birthday prasad. If our beloved, there she is, Bharati can come forward. It's Bharati's birthday today. Bharati is a beautiful, beautiful sister of our Parmarth family, and today is her beautiful birthday. And what we're going to do is, after the Rishi Kumars chant some very sacred mantras for her health and longevity and spiritual evolution, we'll do singing of happy birthday in as many languages as we have here. So think about what language you speak other than English and Hindi. We've got those covered. And raise your hand and we will call on you, and we'll go around and we'll do beautiful happy birthday renditions in all of the languages we have. But first we will begin with Sanskrit. Suddinam.
Sudinam Sudinam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Sudinam Sudinam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Vijai Bhava Sarvatra Sarvada Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Sudinam Sudinam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Om Dirghayuscha Okhade Kanita Jasme Chatva Khanamyaham Atostvam Dirghayurbhutva Satbalasa Virohatata.
Beautiful. So we'll begin our birthday song rendition with English, because everybody can do that. And then just raise your hand, come over to the mic, get in line with all of the different languages that we have. And one by one, we will celebrate her in all of our global languages. But first, let's sing to her in English together. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bharti. Happy birthday to you. Great. Other languages. Other languages. Come forward. Yes, yes. Yes, come to the mic.
Parabéns pra você nessa data querida. Muitas felicidades, muitos anos de vida. Yeah! Viva Bharati!
Just one second. For those of you who are going, Karuna Speedy, make sure they get laddus before they go. Yes. Yes. Yes, what language are you going to sing?
In Spanish.
Okay. All right, we have a Spanish chorus. Come.
Happy birthday to her daughter too.
Oh, wonderful. Is she here?
She's there.
And what is your name? Wonderful. Wonderful. Why don't you come forward too? Happy birthday. Come forward. Come, come, come. Yes, happy birthday in Spanish.
Cumpleaños feliz, te deseamos a ti. Cumpleaños a las dos. Cumpleaños feliz y muchos más.
Great. Other languages. Come forward, please. Yes.
We are both in Russian. С днем рождения для тебя, с днем рождения для тебя, с днем рождения, дорогая, с днем рождения для тебя.
New Zealand Māori. Heri hari tau.
In what language?
New Zealand Māori.
Oh, New Zealand Maori. Wonderful, an indigenous language. Yay, great.
Heri hari tau kia koe. Heri hari tau kia koe. Heri hari tau kia wahine toa. Heri hari tau kia koe.
I think that's our first time for Maori. That was wonderful. Thank you.
In Hindi.
In Hindi.
बार बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिल ये